The solar eclipse is a hard mode event that occurs rarely at sunrise after at least one mechanical boss has been defeated. During the solar eclipse, the player is attacked by hordes of horror-themed monsters until the sun sets, ending the event, or the player escapes underground where those enemies can't spawn. Terraria is a game full of references to real-world things, and the monsters of the solar eclipse are no exception, actually being linked to famous horror movies from the 20th century. But which movies is each enemy actually from? How's it going, crew? This is Happy Days, and in today's Halloween special, we're looking at which famous movie each enemy in the solar eclipse comes from. As a bonus challenge, there's a card on screen now to vote how many enemies you actually think there are in the solar eclipse. Don't check the wiki or read the comments before you vote, and see if you get it right at the end of the video. Let's kick this off with the vampire. This fast-moving enemy flies at you as a tiny bat before turning into human form to melee you for massive damage. It drops the incredibly useful moonstone item and originally appeared in a movie called Dracula from 1931. The vampire called Count Dracula owned a giant castle in a place called Transylvania. Frankenstein and Fritz are both melee enemies that appear frequently during the solar eclipse. They deal high damage, and Fritz can even jump in the air to attack you. Frankenstein used to drop the broken hero sword on PC, but this was removed in an early version of 1.3. Both of these enemies are from the movie Frankenstein, made in 1931, but the character called Frankenstein is actually a scientist aided by his assistant called Fritz, who create the monster known as Frankenstein in Terraria. The creature from the deep attacks like most melee fighting enemies, but can also swim rapidly in water. It drops the useful Neptune shell accessory, which gives the player similar swimming powers and the ability to breathe underwater. This enemy is actually called Gillman from the movie Creature from the Black Lagoon, made in 1954, where it attacks some geologists looking for fossils. Dr. Manfly is a slow-moving enemy that attacks by throwing highly damaging toxic flasks. It drops a weapon of the same name, giving the player the ability to throw flasks with a damaging area of effect attack. This enemy is from the movie called The Fly, made in 1958, where a transporter device goes wrong, creating a mutant fly monster. Mothron is a powerful flying enemy and could be considered a mini-boss of the solar eclipse. It deals high damage and lays eggs around the player which hatch into baby Mothrons. It drops a bunch of powerful items, so the player may want to farm several of these enemies. This enemy is from the movie Mothra, made in 1961, where some evil business people try to exploit the native people of a remote island, but their protecting guardian Mothra saves them. The Possessed is a strange enemy in that its AI resembles spider-type enemies with its ability to crawl on walls. It drops no really useful items besides its banner, but at least getting the banner helps destroy them with greater speed. This enemy is from the movie The Exorcist, where a spooky demon scares people by taking over their bodies and controlling them. The Butcher is a fast-moving enemy wielding a chainsaw that can jump really high, making it hard for the player to dodge it without wings. It drops the Butcher's chainsaw, which is both a high-damage melee weapon and an extremely strong axe tool. This enemy is from the movie Texas Chainsaw Massacre, made in 1974, where a group of friends traveling to an old homestead get attacked by a maniac with a giant chainsaw. The Psycho is a unique enemy as it spawns in stealth mode, waiting for the player to come near it. It can deal a stealth attack which does an extreme amount of damage to the player. It drops the Psycho Knife, which gives the player similar abilities to the Psycho. This enemy is from the movie Halloween, about a crazy people that attacks people on Halloween with a giant knife. Deadly Spheres are a particularly dangerous enemy in the solar eclipse as their small size makes them difficult to keep track of during the chaos. They deal massive damage and relentlessly chase the player. They drop the Deadly Sphere Staff, which allows the player to summon their own Deadly Sphere minions. This enemy is from the movie Phantasm, made in 1979, where the deadly spheres, like in Terraria, can attack with lots of different dangerous spikes and blades. The Swamp Thing is one of the easiest and most common enemies found in the solar eclipse. They are similar to zombies but move faster and hit harder. On console and mobile, they can drop the broken hero sword. This enemy is from the movie Swamp Thing, made in 1982, based on a comic book where a scientist turns into a monster after an accident in their lab. The nailhead is a tough enemy even though it moves so slowly. When attacked by the player, it sprays nails everywhere that hits for a moderate amount of damage. It drops the nail gun, which is a surprisingly powerful weapon, allowing the player to stack damage on enemies. This enemy is from the movie Hellraiser, where a man comes back from the dead and attacks the living like a zombie. The Reaper and Izor enemies do not reference any specific movie but have appeared as themes in games and movies, such as the Reaper character in Overwatch, and the Izor with its one giant eye resembles a Cyclops from ancient lore. The last enemy, the Severed Hand, is an unimplemented monster in Terraria, but some mods have enabled it. It's a small hand enemy that attacks the player by jumping on it. The enemy is from a TV series called The Addams Family, which began in 1964 about a kooky family with strange powers. The Severed Hand, called Thing in the TV show, is a friendly, helpful servant around the house that does basic chores for the family. Well, there you have it, folks, all the enemies from the Solar Eclipse and the movies that they came from. What's your favourite enemy from the Solar Eclipse? Let me know in the comments below. And how did you go on our trivia question in the card? Did you get it right? Let me know. Smash that like button if you're enjoying our Halloween special series, and keep your suggestions coming in. To all the people who asked for the Pumpkin Moon Challenge, I'm working on that special video for you all now. If you're looking for some other awesome Halloween videos, why not check out one of these two? And here's the most important part, as always, you'll stay happy and I'll see you soon. This is Happy Days signing out. See ya!